Hello everybody and welcome back to another tipping video on the channel, round 7. Let's just get into this straight away. First of all, 35 tips for the season, not on ESPN because I made a mistake a couple of rounds ago. Currently in the biggest tipping comp I'm in, Cardman 22, I am ranked 378th out of 917. Been a couple of joker rounds in a row where I've done okay. I think I got 7 and 7 2 weeks in a row, which took me to 14 and 14, so yeah, whatever, let's just get into the tips now. First up, West Coast versus Richmond at Optus Stadium. West Coast right now look like the worst team in the AFL. There's not really much to say about this game. Dustin Martin won't be coming back in. It was looking like it was a possibility, but I think he's probably going to come back next round for the Tigers, because he's been confirmed out for this one. West Coast, I think they're going to be out without Yo again, although Yo really didn't do anything before his injury last week. The Eagles side, they've been suffering injuries and ins and outs. They've had like a record number of ins and outs in the opening few rounds. They have no cohesiveness. There's just been so many players in and out. They haven't been able to build any sort of cohesiveness at all. There's been waffle players in and out the side, injured players not being able to trade and play. It's just I can't really see them getting anywhere near the Tigers here. I'm gonna have to tip the Tigers by a good 52 points in what will probably be a pretty boring game, pretty boring Friday night game. Next up, Geelong versus Fremantle at the Cattery. So Fremantle right now are sitting second, but I think Geelong are probably the better side, especially at GMHBA. They don't lose too many games there. So far, they haven't lost a game there, although they might have only played just the one game. I think they have only played one game at GMHBA so far, which was a win over the Brisbane Lions, and I rate Brisbane more than Fremantle. Fremantle have Sean Darcy and Matt Tabner out, I believe. Probably won't be a smashing, but I think Geelong probably get the job done fairly comfortably by 25 points. Jeremy Cameron's in some really good form, so is Tom Hawkins, and while Fremantle do have a pretty good defence, I feel like Geelong's forward line is still just full of absolute superstars, particularly their two key forwards, and it'll be reasonably high scoring. Actually, the more I think about it, it's probably not going to be high scoring. Whatever. Point is, I've tipped Geelong. Then we've got another. Well, since I live in SA, I'll be watching this game since it's on 7. Adelaide Crows. They've been going pretty well this season. Only the one bad loss to Collingwood. The other 2 losses came by under a goal, and they just beat the Bulldogs. They should probably get the win pretty comfortably here. Realistically, GWS, they've been going terrible to start off the season. Their best game was in round 1, where they lost, in my opinion. Like they played all right in round 1 despite losing, and since then it's just all gone to I don't know. Something's not right at GWS. I kind of predicted they'd have a pretty poor start to the season. I said in one of my big calls that they'd go 0-5. They're currently 1-5, so I got that close enough. And I think they're about to go 1-6. I can't see them winning this game. Tex Walker is in the form of his life right now, coming off 4 goals against Essendon, 5 goals against Richmond, 3 goals including the match winner against the Bulldogs. He could kick another bag of 5 or 6 this week. I think it'll probably be a pretty high scoring game and a pretty big win for Adelaide. I'll go by 45 points. Next up, we've got Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Melbourne have a couple of COVID issues. They've got Luke Jackson, Cozzy Pickett, and Tom Sparrow out, including their coach. But losing the coach really doesn't mean anything. So far, every stand-in coach has won the game. So far the stand-in coaches have a perfect record, and I see that continuing today. Despite a few outs that Melbourne have, they are still comfortably a better team than Hawthorn last week. So Hawthorn, obviously, as we know, they choked a 32-point lead to the Swans to eventually go down by 41 points. Woohoo! Loved listening to that game on the radio after about halfway through the first quarter. Melbourne, they're the best team in the league. Hawthorn, I think, at their best, they can play quite decent, but at their worst, they are pretty bad. I can't tip. Last week was the first time I tipped Hawthorn in a bit of an upset all season. I'm definitely not going to tip them twice in a row. I think Melbourne should get the job done by about 31 points. Now we have St Kilda taking on Port Adelaide. This game is in Cairns, I believe. I'm pretty sure St Kilda have a pretty good record on Cairns. Port Adelaide came off their first win last week by 84 points against the West Coast Eagles. Some people seem to think they are back in contention for top 8. Maybe not, but I think the players and fans have a little bit more confidence now that they have their first win, but I really don't think that tells us a lot about Port Adelaide. West Coast, they're easily the worst team in the league. Maybe not easily. North Melbourne are also pretty bad, but they're easily one of the worst teams in the league. St Kilda have won 5 in a row. I see that going to 6 in a row. In a bit of a scrappy match up in Cairns, probably be a bit humid, potentially a bit of rain, so it'll be a fairly scrappy game. I'll go St Kilda by 14 points. Now we've got Carlton versus North Melbourne. On paper, Carlton should win this pretty comfortably. They did lose to Fremantle last week, but Freo are going okay. North Melbourne got battered by Geelong. Average losing margin this year is like 53 points, I think. On paper, you've got to tip Carlton, but I don't know. I don't think I've tipped any upsets this round so far. I feel like there's got to be at least one major upset. Last week we saw Crows pull off an unexpected win against Bulldogs. I'm going to tip North Melbourne here. It makes almost no logical sense, but North Melbourne, they've got to pull one strange win out of the hat eventually, and I feel like this could be the game. Carlton are missing their ruckman Mark Pitternet, I think that's his name, and usually they don't win when he's not playing in their side. I think they lost against Gold Coast when he wasn't in their side, and they lost against Fremantle when he went down during that game. I don't know if there's any crazy stat that shows they don't ever win when he's in their side or something. I don't know, but I feel like North Melbourne pull a crazy win. I'm gonna tip them in a bit of a thriller by 7 points. North Melbourne get their second win of the season. Their first actual win. Their first win was a very, bad performance against West Coast without half their team, so I almost don't count that one as a win. Here's their first actual decent win of their season coming up. They've got to get one eventually. I'm picking an upset against the Blues. Next up is another game with a bit of upset potential, but I don't see it happening in this game. I'm going to tip conservatively. I think, yeah, Collingwood are definitely a better side than Gold Coast. Gold Coast normally start off the year pretty okay, but this is kind of at the point I'm expecting them to start fading away into irrelevancy. They've had a couple of good performances, had a couple of wins to start in the first 5 or 6 rounds. I see their season going pretty downhill from here. Gold Coast, they are on paper one of if not the worst team in the league. Yeah, I can't see them getting a win over Collingwood, who are back on the winners list after an Anzac Day win last week. Now it's time for a pretty lowly battle between the Bulldogs and Essendon. Both sides not in the best of form. Bulldogs just lost to the Crows. Essendon 1-5 just lost to Collingwood. I think on paper you probably got to tip the Bulldogs. They are the better team. They have more top tier stars on their list. I think you've got to tip them. I'll tip this to be a pretty close game. In fact, I think this should be a close game. I'm gonna tip the Bulldogs by 5 points. Now the final game of the round, Sydney versus the Lions. So Sydney, both teams are 5-1. Brisbane are 3rd on the ladder. Sydney are 4th. So it should be a really good match. They've saved the best till last this round. I don't know why it's on like 4 o'clock on a Sunday. I don't know why they put. This should be the game on TV, really, on a free-to-air TV on the Sunday. I don't know why they put. I guess because that's 2 Victorian sides, but like, I don't know. The AFL just has something with the Victorian teams, all about the money. I'm going to tip against my Swans again. I've tipped against them more than I've actually tipped them this year. This is going to be the 4th time I've tipped against them. I mean, they're going in favourites because it's at the SCG, but I rate Brisbane more, so I'm going to have to tip them in what will be an entertaining match of footy. Brisbane by 13 points. Should be close, high scoring the whole way through. Yeah, fortunately I probably won't be able to watch it. I'll just listen to it on the radio. Hopefully the Bulldogs Essendon game is at least a good one to watch. But anyway, guys, that is all my tips for the round. Let's have a look at the ladder according to my tips. West Coast on the bottom after I've tipped North Melbourne to get a miraculous upset victory, my only upset of the round. Let's hope that happens and hope I don't get embarrassed after they lose by 100 points or something. Please, North Melbourne, I beg of you. Melbourne still undefeated on top. Probably going to stay undefeated for the next few rounds. They might go 10-0. But yeah, Sydney drop out of the top 4. Freo lose their first game for a little while. Brisbane go into the top 2. St Kilda still only on the 1 loss. Adelaide into the top 8 is my tip. It should happen against GWS, which, by the way, they are down on the bottom of the ladder, 17th, not on the bottom, but bottom 2. They're just really not going well at all. Essendon 16th, Gold Coast 13th, I think. Okay, so Gold Coast stay exactly where they are. Carlton drop out of the 8. Collingwood, are they in it right now? Yeah, okay, so they are still in it. yeah, so they are my tips of the round. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I will see you all in the next one.